Whiskey isn't just a drink. It's been taxed, banned, smuggled, and even used as money. From medieval monks to million-dollar bottles, the story of whiskey is a wild ride across centuries of history. This is the full history of whiskey. Before whiskey ever touched a glass, it began with fire and science. Ancient civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt discovered distillation, not for drinking, but for perfumes and medicines. By the Middle Ages, Irish monks carried these secrets back from their travels. They began distilling grain, calling it Wishibiatha, the water of life. Over time, the words evolved into what we know today: whiskey. The first written record of whiskey comes from Ireland in 1405. Just a few decades later, in 1494, Scotland had its own mention, with an order of malt to make aqua vitae. Ireland preferred triple distillation, giving their whiskey a smoother profile. Scotland, on the other hand, leaned into double distillation and the smoky peat flavors that define Scotch today. A rivalry was born, one that still fuels debates among whiskey lovers around the world. In the 1700s, Irish and Scottish immigrants carried their craft across the Atlantic. They distilled rye in Pennsylvania and corn in Kentucky, giving birth to what we now call bourbon. Whiskey was so valuable that when the U.S. government taxed it in 1791, farmers revolted. The Whiskey Rebellion wasn't just about money, it was about identity. George Washington himself had to march troops to shut it down. Ironic, since he would later own one of the largest whiskey distilleries in America. By the 1800s, whiskey went big. Steam engines powered massive distilleries, while blending innovations in Scotland, pioneered by Andrew Usher, made whiskey more consistent and accessible. Irish whiskey ruled the world in the early 1800s, but Scotch soon overtook it, riding waves of exports and empire. Whiskey wasn't just a local drink anymore, it was global. Then came Prohibition in 1920. Distilleries were shut down overnight. Whiskey became contraband, smuggled through speakeasies and bootleggers. But here's the twist. Some distilleries kept operating legally, selling whiskey as medicine. Doctors prescribed it by the pint. Meanwhile, Scotch and Canadian whiskey slipped across U.S. borders, cementing their dominance. Prohibition didn't kill whiskey. In some ways, it made it stronger. After World War II, bourbon roared back in America, while Scotch became the drink of choice across the globe. Irish whiskey nearly vanished, only to be revived in the late 20th century. By the 2000s, Japanese whiskey stunned critics, earning global awards and respect. Today, whiskey is booming again. Craft distilleries are everywhere. Collectors pay millions for rare bottles. What started as a monk's experiment has become liquid gold. Whiskey began as the water of life. It fueled rebellions, built fortunes, and carried nations through wars and bans. And today, it's more than just alcohol. It's history in a glass. So the next time you pour a dram, remember, you're not just drinking whiskey. You're tasting centuries of survival, innovation, and culture. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to Behind the Barrel, where every drop of whiskey tells a story.